A single flash of light on a worn Roosevelt profile can turn a routine pocket change hunt into the thrill of a lifetime. Today's spotlight shines on a dime most of us breeze past without a second thought, yet under a loupe, its subtle misprints and quirks have sent seasoned collectors' hearts racing. We're talking about the 2015 Roosevelt dime, a coin whose story stretches far beyond its face value, and whose rare errors can command prices more fitting for centuries-old rarities. In 2015, as the U.S. Mint rolled out billions of Roosevelt dimes from its Philadelphia and Denver facilities, few anticipated that a handful would escape with mistakes worthy of a specialist's attention. By that point, Roosevelt's portrait had been in circulation for over 7 decades, its design so familiar that most collectors took the annual issues for granted. Yet even the most routine production runs can harbor surprises. For those watching, the slightest deviation in the die, whether a doubled strike, a repunched mint mark, or an unusual planchet flaw, instantly transforms an everyday dime into a standout treasure. The most coveted variety from that year is the double die obverse. Under magnification, a collector will spot a ghostly second impression on the legend Liberty, the date, and along Roosevelt's cheekbone. To the untrained eye, it's merely a thicker line or extra shading, but under 10-power magnification, the doubling jumps out with startling clarity. Such pieces are vanishingly rare. Current estimates place confirmed survivors in the low double digits, making them among the scarcest modern errors you can actively hunt for. What elevates these dimes beyond mere curiosity is their journey from press to collection. By 2015, automated inspection and die polishing protocols were more rigorous than ever. A double die that slipped through 3 rounds of quality control was almost destined to end up folded among dollar bills or jammed into a parking meter, never intentionally saved. When a specimen does surface, it carries with it a kind of accidental authenticity, proof that even the smoothest running minting machine can falter. Auction records paint a vivid picture of demand. In early 2024, a boldly double die 2015 D dime graded MS67 by one of the big services hammered for $650 plus premium. By the end of that year, similar grade dimes routinely cracked the $800 mark, and at a major winter sale in December, one exceptional MS68 plus example soared past $1,000 after a fierce 10-minute bidding war. For context, face value Roosevelt dimes in that grade typically trade for under $5, a stark reminder of how error coins occupy a niche entirely their own. Collectors measure rarity not just by how many exist, but by how many remain in top condition. In heavily circulated grades, say good, G4, or fine, F12, the double details may be smudged or obscured, placing values in the $40 to $60 range. But move up the scale to extremely fine, EF40, and you start seeing cleaner, crisper doubling that lifts values into 3 figures. From there, proof-like dimes or specimens graded mint state 65 and above enter a completely different arena, with buyers willing to pay upward of $300 to $500 for the most flawless examples. Beyond the double die, a few other quirks make the 2015 Roosevelt dime a magnet for specialists. One is the repunched mint mark, where a slightly off register, D, or P, leaves a shadow of a second mint mark just millimeters away from the official stamp. These aren't as dramatic, but in the right light they reveal a sloppy die placement that hints at human hands behind the automated process. In circulated grades, such repunched mint marks bring $20 to $50. In uncirculated, they can climb to $150 to $200 depending on eye appeal. Every error is a story waiting to be told, and collectors thrive on anecdotes. One notable find came from an ATMSN Coinstar enthusiast in Arizona who discovered a faint double die after scanning hundreds of rolls. She posted photos online, sparking a weekend flood of posts from fellow collectors sharing their near misses and ultimate triumphs. That communal thrill, when a group of hobbyists corners a market on a modern rarity, underscores why, even in the age of digital currencies, tangible coins hold an irreplaceable appeal. To spot these dimes in the wild, veterans recommend simple but effective techniques, placing a bright LED flashlight at a low angle to cast shadows across the legend, and always inspecting the date area first. Since bag marks and planchet spotting can mimic doubling, having at least a 5x to 10x loop is essential. Many collectors also suggest photographing suspect coins with a high-resolution camera and then enlarging the image on screen to confirm the doubling before deciding to submit for grading. Condition-based value swings are dramatic enough to make a collector's head spin. A dime with weak but visible doubling in about uncirculated, $50 Australian, might fetch $80 to $120, while a razor-sharp MS66 could fetch $500 or more. Superior specimens graded MS67 Plus have shattered records, and even well-preserved, moderately doubled pieces often yield more excitement than routine silver coins from pre-1965 issues. In other words, the thrill isn't tied to silver content or design artistry, it's tied to that moment of recognition when you realize you found what almost no one else did. Like any niche pursuit, the market for 2015 double-die Roosevelt dimes experiences seasonal ebbs and flows. Prices tend to peak ahead of major national shows, when collectors freshen their want lists, and again in late December as dealers refine inventories for the new year. Keeping an eye on auction archives and online marketplaces helps gauge real-time demand. It's not uncommon for a moderately doubled MS65 to climb 15 to 20% within 6 months if a single high-profile sale makes headlines in the hobby press. Holding one of these error dimes in hand connects you to a chain of events: the moment a die cracked or misaligned, the slip through quality control, the anonymous circulation for years, and finally, the collector who paused long enough to notice. It's proof that mass production has its quirks, and that every coin, no matter how recent, can unlock a story. In that sense, the 2015 Roosevelt dime isn't just pocket change, it's a bridge to discovery for anyone who loves the chase. That's the full tale of our first featured dime: its origin, its rarest quirks, its market highs and lows, and the excitement it brings to those who seek it out. Up next, we'll turn our attention to a decade-earlier 2004 Roosevelt dime variety that plays hide-and-seek with collectors in its own unique way, revealing yet another layer of modern coin intrigue. And just as the 2015 dime surprised us with its hidden quirks, the spotlight now shifts backward to 2004, a year when the same familiar Roosevelt profile quietly yielded its own set of rarities. By scanning pocket change or hunting through dealer trays, collectors have turned what once was routine into a modern treasure hunt, uncovering coins that slipped through quality control or struck off-center, each bearing a story waiting to be told. In the early months of 2004, the U.S. Mint's presses at Philadelphia and Denver struck over 1 billion Roosevelt dimes, honoring the legacy of a president whose image had graced our change since 1946. Though no special anniversary marked that year, subtle shifts in die maintenance and high production quotas created fertile ground for anomalies. As the economy hummed and traffic at banks increased, freshly minted dimes rolled straight into bags, ATMs, and cash drawers without anyone suspecting that some would later emerge as sought-after collectibles. Most 2004 issues look identical at a glance: a sharp wreath encircling the date, Roosevelt's profile crisp, and the P or D mint mark nestled just below the wreath's rim. Yet within that sea of silver-colored copper-nickel, a handful of coins display a doubled or misplaced mint mark, evidence of a repunched mint mark, RPM, error. In these examples, you might spot a faint ghost of a D offset to one side of the primary mark, a subtle echo of an earlier strike that gives the dime an almost prehistoric feel. Perhaps the most dramatic misstep is the double die obverse. Under magnification, collectors have spotted a second image on the rim of Roosevelt's chin, on the motto, "In God We Trust," and occasionally along the edges of the date. Unlike the bolder errors of the 1960s, this modern doubling can be so fine that you'd swear it's a die polish line, until you angle a bright light just right and the doubled letters shout for attention. Confirmed examples remain under 50, making each find a rare gem. A less common variant involves doubling on the reverse, where the torch, olive branch, and oak sprig take on a wobbly outline. These reverse double dies are even scarcer than their obverse counterparts, with just a handful of authenticated specimens known to collectors. The effect can look like a faint shadow trailing the torch's flame, and when it's well preserved, it elevates a face value dime into a piece commanding four-figure bids at auction. Occasionally, the 2004 dimes surface with clipped planchets, errors that occur when the blank metal disc isn't fully cut before striking. These clipped-type coins feature a smooth, curved missing section along the rim, sometimes large enough to notice without tools. Although clipped planchets aren't unique to 2004, any well-centered clip with full, sharp design elements can fetch $75 to $125 in circulated grades, and $200 or more in top uncirculated condition. Market values for these errors vary widely depending on rarity and preservation. A circulated 2004 D double die obverse in good to fine grades might trade for $30 to $60 at a show table. Jump to extremely fine, and clear doubling pushes the value toward $120 to $180. Uncirculated examples graded MS-63 often change hands for $250 to $350, while MS-65 pieces can command $500 to $700. The finest known specimens, MS-66 or above, have climbed past $1,000 when multiple bidders compete at major auctions. Auction archives underscore the enthusiasm collectors have for these modern oddities. In mid-2023, a boldly double-die 2004 P-graded MS-66 Plus hammered for $820, and a clipped planchet MS-64 realized $275 in a dealer-sponsored online event. One standout 2004 D RPM error, graded MS-67 and featuring an especially clear secondary mintmark shadow, fetched $950 in late 2024. Those prices reflect not just scarcity, but the thrill of owning something few have even seen. Collectors often recall memorable encounters with these dimes. In Florida, a hobbyist loading quarters into an ATM paused when she noticed an off-center strike on a 2004 dime. Her quick photo shared on a collector forum led to a flurry of replies, as others compared their own near misses and rare finds. That communal buzz, sharing close-up shots and debating authentic versus die polish, remains central to modern error hunting. Another notable episode involved a coin dealer at a regional show in Texas who spotted a double die reverse in a box lot. The dealer paid face value before isolating the error, then relisted it online where it sold within hours for $650. Stories like that remind seasoned collectors that, even in a largely digital marketplace, patience and a keen eye can pay off handsomely at the table. Condition plays an outsized role in value. A clipped planchet in about uncirculated might bring $90, whereas a pristine MS-66 piece could soar toward $300. The double die obverse shows a similar trajectory. Weak but visible doubling in $50 hovers around $150, while razor-sharp MS-67 examples can exceed $1,000. For repunched mintmarks, values range from $50 in average circulated grades to $350 to $450 at MS-66, reflecting the premium placed on clarity and eye appeal. Hunting advice from advanced collectors stresses hands-on techniques that don't require expensive gear. A bright LED flashlight held grazing the surface highlights die cracks and doubling, and a simple 5x to 10x loop is often enough to confirm a suspect coin. Photographing the find under a small clip-on phone light and enlarging the image on a tablet can provide that extra confirmation before planning a grading submission. The market for 2004 Roosevelt dime errors ebbs and flows alongside major conventions and holiday seasons. Interest typically peaks before spring and autumn shows, when collectors update want lists, and again in December as investment budgets reset. Watching auction archives and online dealer platforms offers real-time insight into which varieties are hot and which are cooling off, helping collectors time their buys and sells. At its core, the 2004 dime series shows that no coin is too recent to hide a puzzle. Whether struck off-center, twice struck, or struck on an imperfect blank, each error bridges the gap between mass production and individual discovery. Holding one connects us to the moment of minting and to every collector who has examined both sides, searched for a telltale shadow, and realized the extraordinary in the ordinary. With that chapter explored, we've uncovered the stories, values, and quirks of 2 modern Roosevelt dimes that have taken the collector world by surprise. Up next, we'll weave these discoveries together, reflecting on what they teach us about the ongoing thrill of coin collecting and how to chart a path toward the next elusive find.